Man, Berserk is it's just too brutal. We thought that Guts had found some type of peace after arriving on Alfhelm, but that really wasn't the case. So Berserk, chapter 367, titled Mist Fade as Cherry Blossoms Fall, has just dropped. And I gotta say, I really love this chapter. And I kinda hated it at the same time. It really felt like vintage, classic Berserk. In these past 3 chapters, it's really great that we've been able to see the 2 most important characters in the story, Guts and Griffith, interact with each other again. There wasn't too much dialogue in this chapter, but still, a lot happened, so there's a lot to unpack and analyze here. Before I continue with the review, I would like to mention the sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends is a free MMORPG with over 56 million downloads. Play as a Tellurian warrior, aiming to defeat the Dark Lord. Let's take a quick look at one of the bosses in the game. The Minotaur is one of Raid's simplest bosses. His main mechanic is twofold. He will hex some of your champions to deal extra damage to them, and he deals bonus damage for 2 turns, but takes bonus damage on the 3rd turn. Or if you don't want to be strategic about beating him, you can just overwhelm him with powerful buffs and debuffs, and just knock him out, using turn meter manipulation skills to keep him from acting. This month, Raid is bringing out 5 new champions. On top of that, Raid's running a huge series of Summer Splash events for the whole month. You can get your hands on some incredible skins for everyone's favorite dwarf, Trunder. But wait, there's more. Raid's currently running a special Deliana Chase event where you can get your hands on the amazing Deliana, a brand new legendary champion from the High Owls faction. And for new players, use promo code MADILIANA to get 50 XP boost to instantly get Deliana to level 50, as well as a ton of silver. This is the best time to get started in Raid, and if you click my link in the description or scan my QR code on the screen, you'll get unique bonuses worth $30. We're talking a free epic champion, Aina, 200k silver, 1 energy refill and 1 XP boost and 1 ancient shard. Thank you Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. Now back to the review. The chapter continues right from the last scene of the previous chapter, after Zod has suddenly arrived on Alfhelm. Guts is knocked back by the force of Zod's landing, and he says, "Damn, just what I need." He still needs to get closer to Griffith, so he tries to charge past the familiar apostle. However, Zod still initiates an attack, and Guts is just barely able to defend it with his Dragon Slayer. We then shift to a scene on a different part of the island, which is away from Guts. We see Isidro, Esme, Danan, and Serpico peacefully bantering with each other. They are all completely ignorant of what the others are up to right now. This made me think, is this the last peaceful scene we'll have on Alfhelm? It seems everything is only going to get way darker from here. After saying goodbye to Danan and turning their backs to her, Esme notices her collapsing. They all immediately go to assist her, and she says, "Everything will be lost. I sense great danger." They shall spring forth from the earth one after the other. I found this last phase very interesting, and I'll get back to it later on. In the following scene, after Zod had distracted Guts, Griffith slowly walks towards Fani, Shirke and Casca, in all his beautiful naked glory. Guts whizzes past Zod, but we don't really see how he managed to get past him. It kinda appears to be that he just got through without any resistance, which is kind of weird, considering what happened in the first 2 pages of this chapter. Anyway, he does get past Zod, and he charges towards Griffith, head first. We see this amazing page as Griffith calmly initiates his next move, as Guts gets ready to swing his Dragon Slayer. I still love the way Griffith's pupil is drawn in this almost reptilian, uncanny way. Guts continues to swing his sword, with full intention of killing his former leader, but just before it actually strikes him, the sword stops. Just as others have said, it's interesting that there are 2 ways we can interpret this scene. One is that Griffith is just using some of his godlike powers, and the other one is that Guts is willingly stopping his attack, so he doesn't kill Casca along with Griffith. This is an absolutely terrible situation for Guts. The person he hates the most is right next to the person he loves the most. I believe that Guts is willingly choosing not to attack, because on the next page we visibly see him shaking as he holds his position. Do you guys remember the last time Guts held this position? It was back in the Golden Age arc, when the 2 had their infamous rematch on top of the hill, when Guts left the Band of the Hawk. I really wonder whether this scene is an homage to that fight. Guts not going through and killing Griffith was obviously a massive, pivotal moment in the whole story. That one event really changed the whole course of Berserk, and it makes me really wonder whether the scene will end up being another extremely pivotal moment. One gripe I have is the way we didn't actually see how Griffith got past Shoke and Fani. Obviously, there's no way those two can put up any type of fight against Griffith, but they seem to be largely ignored, and it's not suggested that there was any type of resistance. It makes me wonder whether they were simply drawn back by Griffith's magical presence, which is something the story had continuously highlighted in different parts of the series. But at the same time, Shoke had always known that Griffith was evil, so I'm not really sure. In the following scene, a strong wind rushes past the whole island, and Guts' Dragon Slayer is no longer on top of Griffith. And then, the earth begins to rumble, and it breaks apart. Relating this page to my previous point, we do very faintly, ever so slightly, see Fani and Shoke in this panel, and they appear to be hugging each other. Going back to what Danan said to Isma, Isidro and Serpico, she told them that she senses great danger springing from the earth, one after the other. With the ground breaking up beneath Guts, this might be a hint that some apostles or some other kind of monster is going to appear from the ground in the next chapter. A lot of people had been guessing that on top of Zod, other apostles were going to appear on Alfhelm, and these two pages may suggest that if this does happen, they will appear from beneath the cracks of the earth. While Guts, Fani and Shoke appear to be taking cover amidst the danger, Griffith is of course very calm throughout all of this. He gently carries the unconscious Casca in his arms, and he stands up, almost facing Zod, and this is when the chapter ends. Every time I reread this chapter, I keep thinking the same thing to myself over and over again. I just f***ing hate Griffith. How the f*** does he keep getting away with all of this? As Super Eyepatch Wolf talked about in his Berserk video, especially during the Millennium Falcon arc, we find ourselves strangely rooting for Griffith as he conquers more and more countries, but in scenes like these, we are reminded of how much of a heinous asshole he really is. This makes me further appreciate the work Kojimori and the assistants have put into these chapters. They are obviously doing something right if they can draw this type of reaction out of us. Griffith is just so fucking smug with his typical calmness and smile. Seriously, amazing work at how they have preserved this feeling of Griffith, who is undoubtedly one of the greatest villains in all of fiction. So after this chapter, the Fantasia arc is supposed to end in 3 more chapters. In my previous video, I talked about how the next arc may start out on Alfhelm. But with this current chapter, I think we are starting to get a better sense of what the next arc will focus on. It's predicted by many that Griffith will kidnap Casca back to Falconia, and the final arc will be an all-out war between the inhabitants of Alfhelm against the new Band of the Hawk. I may make a video specifically talking about the things Berserk will need to cover before it ends, but at least for now, I will just say that I cannot wait for the next chapter, which will be released on the 12th of August. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you do, so you can check out my next review video when it does drop. Thank you for watching.